Yo, welcome back to the Sample Podcast, the number one social dynamics podcast in the world. And today with me have a very, very special guest. We have the biggest Australian male adult entertainer to grace the screens of big names such as Brazzers, Rocco Siffriedi's label, Reality Kings, Digital Playground, and many, many more. Worked with the biggest actresses in the world. Now has transitioned into a business mogul, jet setting around the world, and is currently with us all the way from Dubai. Sitting with me in front of me is Mr. Sterling Cooper. How are you today, sir?
I'm great, mate. Thank you for having me on.
I appreciate that. I did, everyone that comes on there, like I did some research. Well, I had to do extensive research about you. There is a lot there out there. And it's good. It's good the audience will be able to think. So for the audience that may not know who you are, Mr. Sterling Cooper, give us a little bit of a brief summary about where you came from, how'd you get into the industry and where you are currently at your life right now.
Right. Well, look, I come from a very, very small 3,000 person farming town
Yep.
in rural Western Australia. I got into the adult entertainment industry back in Australia. I actually, oddly, most people don't actually know this. I actually started off as a straight male escort in Perth. Worked in Perth, worked in Sydney, worked in Melbourne, worked a little bit in Brisbane. Bounced around the country there, servicing wealthy businesswomen. That was kind of my gig for a number of years. And the adult entertainment space in Australia is kind of tiny. So through that, I met girls who were in the porn industry, and they were like, "You should give this a try. You'd be pretty good at this." So I was like, "You know what? I might give it a try." It had always kind of been a dream of mine since I was a horny teenager to get paid to do this thing on camera. And I here what I actually did. So I've got, maybe this is too long of an answer to your question. Let me know.
No, keep it going. I love it.
I filmed some demo footage.
Okay.
And I cut it up into little clips, like missionary position, doggy style, cowgirl, right? I put it all in a Dropbox folder. And then I cold email pitched some directors in Melbourne. And they said to me, they replied back and they're like, "This is without a doubt the most professional application we have ever received from anyone wanting to become a male actor in our industry." And so they gave me a shot and shot my first scene, and the rest is history. And so now I've been, for the last 5-ish years, I've been flying all over the world shooting pornography.
Were you always like that? Were you always open-minded to, say, sex in general? Have you always been someone that's open-minded?
I think so. Yeah, I was always. It's funny when you look back on your life, you're like, how the hell did I end up like this? I look back at like how I was raised and my parents and their interaction with each other. Because I don't come from a broken home. I come from a stable family, which is not exactly the same story with most people in my industry, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
But not a lot of no affection in the family. I never even saw my parents kiss until I was maybe in my 20s.
Are you kidding?
Totally,
that's holy shit.
They loved each other and there was affection. They were friendly and stuff, but there was just no romance at all.
Okay.
And so I guess for me that created maybe subconsciously you think that made sex this sort of interesting, fascinating thing for me that I decided to dive into. And so, when I left home, grew up, went to university and stuff, started exploring women. I actually started to jumped onto internet forums and learned the whole pickup stuff back in the day when I started hitting the bars in Perth in Western Australia, and quickly discovered I was a bit of a pervert. I just embraced it and doubled down on it. If it's part of who you are, why the hell not?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's fascinating, especially, because as you said, in the industry, a lot of them are from that broken home that they have a lot of troubles. But did your parents show you love? Was that part of it? They were.
It's funny. They showed me love in their own way, but it was never I'm a very huggy kind of guy. With all my friends will tell you that. I'll give them a hug, say goodbye, say hello.
Yeah.
I was the guy. I always had to engage that with my mother. I'm like, look, Mom, love you. I'm going to give you a goddamn hug. All right. So it was a lot of that, kind of forcing that physical interaction with my family, even with my brother and my sister. Same thing. I'm the guy who initiates the genuine I love you and I'm going to let you know about it hug.
Yeah.
During any kind of family interaction like that. And so, I guess I'm so on the other end of that polarity now. Right. Totally unashamed of anything intimate or physical in that nature, because it was just something that was so, unique and rare, I guess, growing up.
Yeah, different. And then especially thing it. So you've gone from Perth, you shot your first scene, and then you became a how would not a I wouldn't say it. Would we say a gigolo? Is that the proper terminology?
Yeah, I mean, you can say that. Look, we like to say companion.
Companion. Yes, that was the word I was looking for. I didn't mean it. Yes, a professional companion. And that's what I really want to dive into, because especially you would have an access to especially higher class women, like you said, inside the minds of, what sort of troubles that they might have, what sort of things that they have. And I'm sure you've got a few stories about what the things do we see, especially that people might not know of, in that sort of area.
One of my clients, she was this like multi-millionaire Chinese lady. She started this really big company back in China, basically sort of exited it and was sitting on a ton of cash. She was actually married, but her husband still lived in China and she lived in Australia. It was one of these marriages of like social status.
Okay. So back in the old days. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to give away, obviously,
too much.
Dox anybody. He came from a very good family with a high standing. Okay. So the two of them marrying each other made sense politically, I should say.
Okay. Yep.
But there was no love, no passion at all, no romance at all. So she lived on the other side of the planet to him. And when I started, seeing her when she was my client, one of the things that struck me really quickly was how lonely she was.
Okay.
Being a really, really high net worth woman, not just because of it was hard for her to find men she could date. That was just one thing, but her family, every single person she interacted with wanted something from her.
Okay.
All of her family, you can tell that. When people are trying to interact with you because they want something, it's very, very obvious. You can tell if they're trying to get something from you. And so imagine being in that situation where all of your family, they're not talking to you because they genuinely love you and want to be around you. They're talking to you because, auntie has lots of money. So if I'm nice to her, she might leave something in my will, or she might get me those nice pair of earrings. And that was what, and she's telling me this, it was really kind of heartbreaking in a way to hear that. But she had the one nice thing about her family. She had one niece who didn't want anything from her. She wanted to become a chef. And so what she would do was, whenever she hung out with her niece, she would take her niece to like Michelin star restaurants so she could experience really high-end fine dining cuisine, so that she could translate that into her craft as a chef. And I thought that was the most beautiful thing in the world, because she didn't want anything from her, so she gave her something really, really meaningful. And I love that. But that taught me a lot about sort of high net worth women and how hard it can be for them to just find anyone to be genuine around them.
Yeah, well, that's got to be an experience, especially that you felt it, you saw it, and then be like, wow, hanging around that person. Now you're like, I can understand why sometimes you might be like that, or act like that, or act like this, especially with these high level people. So what I teach now a lot of the time is social circle. Elevating your social status and getting around these people. You've got to understand that they have these things in their life that normal people don't know about, which you found out, especially through that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a crazy phenomenon. So you've done that in Australia. Now you've taken the leap to, where was the first place you went to? America, or was it you went somewhere else from there?
The first place I went to, so I shot my first few. I spent 6 months shooting in Melbourne, because Melbourne's kind of like the hub for porn in Australia. Not a lot to shoot there. It's a tiny little hobby industry, so we didn't do too much work. Then I ended up going to England. Went to England, shot for the infamous Fake Taxi, shot for Brazzers out there, and then had a great time in England for about 6 to 8 months, and my reputation got quite well known, and then they flew me out to Budapest and Prague, actually in Eastern Europe.
Yep.
Ended up shooting in Eastern Europe for a good 6 to 8 months.
Gotta love it there.
Leveraged that and ended up making my way into Los Angeles. I was shooting in LA for like 3 years.
Okay.
Really, really crushing it with that's where I ended up shooting for basically every big company you've ever heard of. Shot with all the big top name stars you would have ever heard of. And then I kind of got sick of LA, and so I decided to move to Miami, because Miami is a lot more
a little bit different,
a lot more free. than Los Angeles is, especially since 2020.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. It's been a shit show over there. But COVID aside, it's the one thing that I'm just like, we talk about it too much in Australia here.
Yeah,
So let's go on.
I didn't want to say the word. You said the word.
Yeah,
so.
I brought it up. It's all me. I had to monetize more. Let's go. He said it. That's the funny thing. But yeah, that's amazing that you've built your career and you're someone in the industry. It's especially because a lot of time, now I even find that the male stars are getting more recognition. Johnny Sins, a few of the others are starting to become bigger names. In that whole era that you were doing, did you feel like you were kind of like the stars were the girls and you were kind of just like the offset, or did you feel included in a lot more of it? What were the things? Because obviously the websites just promote a lot of the girls because the usage is mostly men.
Yeah, I mean they're the product. They're the product that they're selling, right? We always say this, like, I'm filmed from like the nipple down 90% of the time. So you actually get to see the women's faces on during these things. They don't. No one wants to show my ugly mug. They don't give a shit.
They're not going, oh, his beard looks nice today. Yeah, 100%.
But the analogy I like to use is a good porn scene is like a Ferrari, okay? And the woman is like the chassis. She's the beautiful. He's like the leather-lined seats. She's the delicate interior. She's this beautiful streamlined. The guy is like the engine under the hood. You don't see him, but he's what makes it work.
Right.
And that is a very good analogy for how a good porno works. Is like the guy. It's my job is to bring this energy and this sexuality and this sensuality out of her on camera. It's my job to get her out of her head. It's my job to make her forget there's anybody there, right? And to position her and move her in such a way that the camera can see what's going on, and to bring out this animalistic lust out of her at the same time, so that the camera, the viewer, gets to see the best of her. That is my job.
Right.
And simultaneously keep my dick hard while doing all that.
So all of that, this logicalness here, as well as that. So would you say that the male is more in the control in terms of where the scene goes? Would you say that's mainly how it does work?
Absolutely. To know what angles the director wants to get, to know what the script entails, to know, because sometimes we get given like specific shots they need. So it's my job to make sure we get that. It's my job to inject any kind of creativity into the scene that I can get out of her. So it makes it a bit different, makes it more memeable. And if I'm being honest, like it's a bit of a thankless job in a lot of ways being a male porn star. But look, I ain't complaining. You get so.
That's it. I'm glad you put that. All the guys would be like, what the fuck? Just going off. When I had left RSD in 2016, I actually worked in downtown LA. I had it was like a model shoot or a penthouse kind of thing in one of the buildings. And they used to shoot a lot of, babes. They used to shoot a lot of digital playground there. So I got to see a little bit of behind the scenes from there, which was very interesting because it's a whole different side. There's a whole different thing to the final product that guys. Yeah. So many layers to it. It's ridiculous.
Mate, people don't realize this. People think it's like, they think it's like some kind of party or something, like you rock up and it's like all fun and games and then you have sex. No, there's like a ton of paperwork. You're sitting around like, as a guy especially, I'm most of my day is waiting. I'm doing my paperwork, then I'm waiting around for her to make up to get finished. Then I'm waiting around for like the lighting guy to set up the lights for the shot. Then I got to go through the script with the director and her. We run our lines. Like this, I'm on set for like 6 to 8 hours, and the final product is maybe a 30-minute scene.
Yeah.
And 20 minutes of that is the stuff that people actually watch. They skip through the first 10 minutes of dialogue.
Yeah, they don't want to see that.
We actually spend most of the time on it's the silliest thing. We spend like 90% of the day on the 10 minutes that everyone skips through. And then the bit they actually watch, we do that in about 20 minutes, like about 2 hours, like 1 to 2 hours. Yeah, a lot of waiting around, man. You gotta be it's good. You want to have something on your phone to do all day. Otherwise, you're going to be bored.
Well, that's where the works probably come in. Did you find that whilst you were shooting, you started to develop the branding and started to think outside? Because you were someone that has come up with your Len of the Plugs, your Bella Dangers, your brand, your Riley Reeds in terms of a personal brand outside of the work, especially Lana Rhodes, the biggest one. You've done that, which has been magical. It seems like, someone that might not have been in your industry didn't develop that personal brand. Did you do that while you're on set?
You know what? Not really. Actually, it was sort of something that I did. What I kind of teach now. This kind of brand. I really came up with that offset.
Okay.
When I was, because I used to get what happened was I got a lot of dudes DMing me on my Instagram, my Twitter, like, hey man, I'm having trouble with this. Can you give me advice? Hey, like I've got anxiety, or I come too early, or whatever it is. And I just started. I was replying to a few guys here and there, and I just started seeing more and more and more of this. I don't know why guys reached out to me in particular. Maybe I seem kind of approachable, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Like anybody else.
It's amazing they did do that. Like, they must have felt comfortable, as weird as it's going to think, but they felt comfortable. You're probably the only one they could reach out to that would understand, maybe.
Because I'm going to be honest, like a lot of guys in my industry are like totally, it's a real natural gift for them. For me, I kind of had to like learn a lot of it myself. Like I had a desire and an inclination towards it, but I'm the kind of guy who I like to deconstruct things and break them down. So whenever I would see, like, I'd always be picking the brain of more seasoned male veterans if they were on set.
Okay.
I'd be like, all right, man, what do you eat? Do you meditate? Like, what are your daily routines and habits? Where do you go up? Where do you go mentally during a scene? What do you do if your boner starts going away? Like, I'm picking their brains every time I'm on set with another dude. Like, because sometimes you'll be shooting like multiple partner scenes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll shoot a morning scene and an afternoon scene, and so you'll get like maybe 30 minutes where the two crews cross over. And so I'm like, that guy's a Hall of Famer. I'm going to sit down and talk to him for like 30 minutes before he leaves so I can learn something, right? Mm-hmm. And I just started accumulating all this information, and eventually that turned into the kind of material that I teach now, because it's stuff that not only has industry veterans use, but I use because it works, you know?
Well,
that's where most of my stuff come from. Just knowing when there's a guy in the room who's smarter than you and picking his brain and being able to break it down and dissect it. I used to run like student events and teach guys how to run events and things. I have a weird background. So
very diverse, which is awesome. You have to be diverse nowadays. You have to know a lot more than just like, say, one skill in particular. Yeah. What do they call rapid skill acquisition? Jason Capital breaks it down. I'm like, you need to know a lot, you know what I mean? As a businessman, especially. And it's funny, but where we first met, I started first seeing you on TikTok when you started coming along, and we were both rising pretty quickly at the same time. And that's where I think a lot of our audience dissected each other, you know what I mean? And one of the things I remember, two specifically, the second one I want to really get into. The first one was a technique that you taught in case the guy is starting to get a little bit soft, that you sniff the back of the hair, the pheromones. Yeah. I never heard someone break it down so professionally into something that the human body does. And I was just bewildered. And that was the one that caught me. I was just like, I've never, ever, ever heard of that before.
It's good to know. It's good to hear like what things really resonate with people and what grabs people's attention. That's good to know.
And it works too.
It does work. Of course it works.
God damn, it works too, which is amazing.
It's a natural biological, like instinctual reaction. You know, pheromones are a real thing, and pheromone glands at the back of the neck. That's why it's like basically every porno I'm in, you'll see me start a porno like that, because I'm doing it. I'm not an idiot. I know I'm trying to make sure I'm on point. So I'm like, all right, kiss the back of the neck, smell her hair, smell the neck, and we're off to the races. We're good to go.
That's crazy.
And I stole that from somebody else. No joke. A more seasoned veteran. When I was really, really in the UK, when I was really, really early on, he taught me that. I was like, all right, I'm going to try that. And it works.
Those are the things that you obviously teach, which is fantastic. I haven't pirated, but other people have shown me the clips. Don't worry. I'm still... You're like, all right, yeah, motherfucker, give me my money later. Anyways, the second one was your stance on nofap, which is very, very interesting, which a lot of people wouldn't understand. Nofap is the idea of not masturbating to pornography. And it's interesting that you are a porn star telling people not to masturbate to porn. So break that down, because it's fascinating. When I first started listening to you, I was like, yeah, you make a ton of sense about that. You make a huge amount of sense.
Well, it's the thing, man. It's like my buddy has a really good analogy. It's like, if you're a drug dealer, you don't want to be doing lines of coke all day.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that pornography isn't a vice. It's a vice. Okay. Like, And so, and I actually get a lot of flack from women in my industry for saying this and for kind of having this approach. It comes to me with any kind of problem in the bedroom, be that erectile dysfunction, performance anxiety, premature ejaculation, delayed ejaculation, anything like that. The first thing I tell them is stop masturbating to porn. Stop, cut that shit out immediately.
Boom.
If you have a problem in the bedroom, that's the first thing you should take. The first action step you should take. And my kind of attitude is this: look, I smoke cigars. I like smoking cigars.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that my risk of getting mouth or tongue cancer doesn't go up from smoking cigars. I'm not an idiot, right? I can still enjoy this thing and accept the consequences of enjoying it. Okay. So that's kind of my approach when it comes to porn. Like, I enjoy shooting it. I enjoy making it. I love the industry. It's given me a great life. But I'm not going to pretend that there are guys out there who consume it too much and it fucks them up.
Definitely.
Okay. So, but the key thing to understand why it can help you to wean off porn is your dopamine response, the novelty response that your brain gets. So if every day I'm opening up a million, tabs on Pornhub and watching so much different porn, well, think about the way your brain evolved. It's the same reason why, like, this little device in our hand causes our attention spans to go down. TikTok is a great example of that.
100%.
Your brain is just being bombarded with novelty, right? So if I'm sitting there watching 20 different porn tabs, and that's 20 different women doing 20 different things, well, of course, that is way more novel than one beautiful woman in front of me. So when the time comes for me to actually have sex with a beautiful woman, I have conditioned my brain to need a certain level of stimulus, a certain dopamine response. I've conditioned my body that way through my masturbation habits. And you're associating the erectile response with that overstimulus. So, okay, then I get to the bedroom with a woman. It's just her. She's not, I don't know, gargling 20 balls or whatever the fuck you were Googling, right? It's not as novel. It's not as unique. It's not as exciting. Your brain is not going to give you that same kind of physical response as it was doing when you were masturbating, right? So, of course, you're going to have trouble in the bedroom. You've trained yourself to do that.
Yeah.
So go right ahead. I don't care. Keep watching my porn. Keep making me money. I'm fine with
that. Rack the views up, guys. Rack the views.
Right. Help me rise those numbers on Pornhub. But if you do have problems, that's the first place you should start. And don't masturbate at all, because I'm not a big, I'm not really like a semen retention guy.
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, same as me. No.
Because I just look at things from an evolutionary perspective, man. Like, okay, when Genghis Khan was pillaging across the Asian steppes in Europe, was he retaining his semen? No, he wasn't, because a large swathe of the human population are descended from the man. So obviously he wasn't retaining any semen. You know what I mean? So
he's impregnating. Yeah.
He's impregnating people. So it's like the natural drive of a man is to, find a woman and release his seed with her. So that's what I tell guys. I'm like, look, don't masturbate, but don't pretend like you have to hold it in if you're with a beautiful woman. Because I know guys will take it that far.
Yeah, well, 100% on YouTube, it's like, I reached my 2-year goal, and you're like, holy shit, man.
Go talk to a woman.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Go fucking do. And I'm like, and they're like, I get all these benefits. I'm like, yeah, but fuck me doing that for 2 years. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, so how many times you had sex in that series? Oh, none. Like, it's like, oh,
exactly. See, I think you get the exact same benefits from just not masturbating and saving that energy to be with a woman than you do from not using it at all ever for 2 years.
now is there the same response for women also? Would they have the same sort of dopamine responses, or completely differently, you reckon?
Well, women aren't as visual as men in this way. It's just their sexual urges are not typically driven by visual stimulus to the same extent that ours are. I actually tell I tell guys to tell their women in particular, is if she has trouble reaching climax during sex, if she's very inexperienced, or she has any kind of degree of shame or guilt associated with sex, which is very, very common.
Yep.
I will tell the guy to tell his woman to masturbate more. You want to encourage her to masturbate more and get in touch with her own body and learn her own body, and and anchor it to yourself ideally during the process. Think about me and tell me what you're thinking about me when you're touching yourself, and send me photos and videos of it. Just in the context of a relationship, that's a great thing, right? You want her associating sexuality and arousal with you. That's good.
She's like, Brad Pitt. You're like, no, wrong one.
Don't go Google it. Don't go telling the Google Sterling Cooper, right?
Yeah, exactly. I might lose my girls, bro. Sterling, come on, man.
But that will help her to learn more about her body, to get in touch with her body, to feel comfortable and relaxed with it. Because that's it. A lot of the things that stop women from being able to climax is like being too much in her own head, and having a degree of guilt or shame associated with it, or having some kind of pressure associated with it. So that's the problem that a lot of guys run into in the bedroom, is they want to get their woman off, and that's a great thing. You should. I encourage that. You should want your woman to enjoy sex with you, to orgasm, to climax. Great. The problem comes when you put too much pressure on her to do that, and she can feel that there's that pressure there. Yeah. Right. Because that immediately puts her in her head. You've immediately set an expectation to climax. Otherwise, you don't feel like the fucking man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Have that. If you come into the bedroom with that attitude, she will pick up on that. Women are very intuitive creatures. They will pick up on that. And then you'll put her in her head, and you've just screwed yourself over even further by making it even less likely, I should say. It's this weird, like counterintuitive dynamic going on.
Yeah, it's like back in the RSD term, a law of state transference. If your insecurity about feeling like you're the man, now that's some deep shit, bro. That's a mic drop. Yeah. If I had the fresh and fit button, Myron, give me my thing.
You're Don DeMarco.
Especially what I want to get into, which is the masculine and feminine energies that we both have, and especially like, what would be one of the common things? Is this one of the common things that you find a lot of students of yours suffer with, is that being that masculine presence, or the girl being feminine presence, or that the roles are completely reversed and it's a weird dynamic?
I get a lot of that, and I also get a lot of, I guess the way a lot of my guys would phrase it is because I try to teach guys to be dominant in the bedroom. Yep. That's kind of my whole angle. Is like, look, this is the natural male-female polarity: is dominant masculinity, submissive femininity. And I think both parties are at their happiest, not just in the relationship, but in the bedroom when they're in that.
I agree.
Context,
100%.
when they're in that dynamic, right? That's what all female fantasies are based around. You read any romance novel, the dude isn't this submissive, passive, wet toast kind of guy. Yep. He's masculine. He's a bit dangerous. He's a bit edgy, right? But he takes charge.
50 Shades of Grey, I
mean, it's a trope, but it's true. The guys that come to me tell me, at least, is that they're afraid to be this dominant guy in the bedroom. They don't feel like it's them. They don't feel congruent with being more dominant and leading and more physically, physically dominant in the bedroom than they used to be. Yep. Because they've never had that reference experience, right? Of doing something with masculine intent, doing something very, very physically overwhelming to a woman, shall we say, and having her react positively to it, right?
Right. Yeah, of course.
It's kind of a chicken and egg thing. It's like you have to have certainty in what you're doing in order to do it well. Because the idea of like congruence, right? And this is probably something you're very, very familiar with coaching guys, right? Is kind of on the same page, right? Then I come across as a congruent guy, right? If I'm thinking dominant thoughts, I'm saying I'm going to do dirty things to her, and I'm physically doing them. Okay, that as the woman, she's like, okay, this guy is no bullshit. This guy is congruent.
Yes.
But the problem comes when the dude is like, the dude might say, "Oh, I'm going to give you the time of your life," he's like, oh, come here. He's like all nervous in his body language.
Yeah, she's like, why are you shaking? And you're like, oh no.
Exactly. It's like if there's no congruency there, what guys need to understand is that actually communicates danger to her. That is actually oh shit, I'm not safe here kind of signal. Because it's the weirdest. A lot of this is a real mind fuck for guys to learn. It's so counterintuitive to what mainstream society tells us.
Yeah.
What mainstream society tells us, like every goddamn Hallmark romantic comedy tells us, like, oh, just be the nice guy, buy her flowers, like take her, be a little simp, like supplicate to her all the time, and eventually, if you're a good little boy, she might touch your pee-pee. Like, no, dickhead. No, it's not how it works.
Doesn't work. Yeah, Hitch. Yeah, classic Hitch. You know what I mean? Like,
classic Hitch. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Like that's gonna work. Yeah.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And with this idea of, I say this a lot to guys. I say, a woman wants to feel safe with you. Okay, she wants to feel like she's with a man who she is safe with, who's going to protect her. Right? You're going to keep her away from harm.
Yep.
And ironically, the best way of showing her that she's safe with you is by showing that you are a man who is dangerous. A man who is capable of violence actually means that she's safe with you.
Yeah.
Because if we rewind the evolutionary clock thousands of years, okay, the dude who was capable of violence, the guy who could go out and like hunt down an animal, or the guy who could stop a rival tribe from coming in and raping and pillaging her, that's the guy she's safe with. But he's not a weak man. He's a dangerous man. He's a man who's capable of violence, right? It's just in today's society, we don't really use violence like that anymore. But the same sub-communications, the same body language cues, the same vocal tonalities, the same way that you would have sex, all communicate that you're a dangerous man, a man who's capable of violence. That simple thing, the capacity for violence, ultimately demonstrates that she's safe with you.
It's such a fascinating world, especially when you're diving into energies. You know, like the whole aspect, your energy controls your body movements, your beliefs, the way how confident you are. And as I said, you know, they do as you said, and they'll do it, and then like, oh well, Stirling, it didn't work, and it's like, come on, man, like you did it completely not the way I told you. And it's so frustrating. As you're probably aware, you try to tell them, and they do it. They think they do it, but them even just going 1% more feels so daunting to them compared to where they've got to be.
Well, that's why I try to. When I teach this stuff in my courses and whatnot, I try to baby step guys there. If a guy is super vanilla and tame, he's the missionary position with the lights off kind of guy, right? If that's where he's at, I'm not going to tell him to be like, all right, slap her. Like, I'm not going to tell him to do that straight away. Okay. Like there is plenty of steps he can take in between that are like little baby steps at a time. That are going to allow him, most importantly, him to be comfortable with what he's doing. Because if he's not comfortable with it, then she ain't going to be comfortable with it.
100%, yeah.
If he's nervous and anxious about trying to do something, then she's sure as hell going to be like, oh God.
Because it's happening to her. You're like, oh shit, fuck, it's like anything. Yeah. Okay, that paints a big picture for the guys listening, especially, you know.
Yeah.
That there is that.
Like, as an example, step one, like here's how to like kiss a girl in a really like coquettish kind of way.
Yep.
So you create that little polarity and you break away, and like she gets a bit excited. You're like, oh, that's a bit more dominant. Okay, now we step it up. Okay, now here's how you can like pull a girl's hair properly.
Yes.
Right? Or here's how you can spank a girl's ass properly. Like, and we slowly ratchet it up, right? Until the point where, okay, now he's tying the girl up and he's flogging her. Cool, great. Like, I don't take him there straight away. You know,
of course.
I want to babysit the guy there.
No, I can imagine it, and you know, if you can't go 0 to 100 real quick, even what Drake said, you know, in this sort of stuff.
Maybe with money. Maybe you can do it with money.
Yes, exactly. That's the one thing. Let me get the questions up real quick. Oh, I love this chat. It's really well. So if we go into, you were saying especially that you were talking to the older guys about your health. Your health and wellness is something that you really, really do preach. And I want to get the audience to understand, especially coming from where did you start to develop this kind of really healthy habits, really healthy thing? And has it always been with you, or have you kind of learnt from other people, started to progressively integrate it into your life?
Well, so my background is actually in chemistry of all things. So I'm a chemistry major. So I've always enjoyed, like, whenever I've heard of something, I've always enjoyed diving into like the peer-reviewed literature of it.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Is like, here's a claim somebody's making. Well, is there any validity to this claim?
Yeah.
So let's try and find a reference journal article that supports it. And for me, the beginning of my sort of health and wellness journey it actually started, I think, with Tim Ferriss.
Okay. Yep.
I was big into Tim Ferriss's work, and then that led me down a rabbit hole, and I ended up reading more about Mark Sisson and the Primal Blueprint, and that really took me down a rabbit hole, learning about the paleo diet. Yep. Very, very big proponent of the paleo diet. And then obviously through that, I also learned about Dr. Mark Hyman, who I'm a big fan of,
yep.
and Chris Kresser as well, big fan of his work as well. The whole functional medicine approach towards health and nutrition, super important, especially in places like America, man.
Yeah.
Australia, you don't know. Have you lived in America for an extended period of time?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years. Yeah, with RSD and
how
stuff.
How trash is the food?
Yeah, man. It's I don't know. There's more. Popeyes, Five Guys, this, that, and you're like, Jesus.
It's just, and even when I go to a nice steak restaurant in America, if I eat a steak in America, it just doesn't taste as nutritious as something coming from Australia or from Europe. It's because they factory farm everything.
Yes.
So the quality of the food in general is so much less.
Even looking at
they're less nutritiously dense.
Yeah. But you're all just got to look at the fat, what color the fat is on the steak, and that's all that matters.
Yes, yeah, dude, that's exactly it. Yeah. And same with like eggs, looking for like pasture raised eggs. Like, are they nice and like golden and orange and stuff? Like, look at the yolks. Like, being able to tell like these little things about your food you're eating is really useful.
Everyone look at the painting behind Stirling. If the egg is that color, it's not bad. No, that one, the other side. Yeah, if it's that orange, that's what we want.
Exactly.
And so have you learned that? Because I remember one in the other podcast, you were talking about something about, cholesterol, and especially learning through that journey into your acting career, especially with that, and how you kind of infuse the two. That was really interesting to hear about.
Yeah, because that's a lie I believed when I was growing up.
Yeah.
The food pyramid and fat's bad and all that kind of stuff. And then, like I said, reading guys like Mark Sisson, Mark Hyman, Chris Kresser, blew my mind, and Dr. Peter Attia, he's another one I really recommend. He talks a lot about keto diet and stuff. That it really changes your perspective, or your understanding, I should say, not perspective, your actual understanding of cholesterol and its role in your body. Because cholesterol is one of the building blocks of testosterone. You need cholesterol in your diet to create testosterone. You can't make it without it. And once I started to realize that, I was like, oh, okay, let's switch up my diet a bit. Yep. Oh, surprise, surprise! I'm putting on more muscle mass. My T levels are healthier. I'm hornier all the time, which is a good thing. Like, I'm more aggressive in pursuing my goals.
Yeah,
right. And so one of the cheeky biohacks I actually do before a scene is I do my 4-egg shake. I'll crack 4 of them into like a protein shaker, a scoop of vanilla protein powder, fill it up with water. Blend it or like shake it up so it's not gooey anymore.
Yep.
And it tastes like a milkshake, if I'm being honest.
Awesome.
If you use vanilla protein powder, and I'll slam that down about 2 hours before I go to bed. Right. The reason I do that is I'm giving my body a bunch of cholesterol with which it can create testosterone for me during the night while I'm asleep during REM sleep. And I'm also giving myself, because eggs are fantastic, I'm also giving myself a bunch of other nutrients as well. And then I guarantee I've given this trick to so many dudes, and it works every time. Guarantee you do that. You have 4 raw eggs the night before you go to sleep. The next morning, I guarantee you are waking up with a rock hard raging boner. I guarantee it.
That thing's throwing the sheets off before you.
But I did that before. See, I'm prepping for success. So the next day, okay, I wake up ready to go. I'm like, all right, let's go to set. I'm good to go. I know my body has what it needs to perform today.
I like that.
That came from understanding nutrition, understanding the paleo diet, understanding Mark Hyman's work and how hormones actually function in our body. It's very important stuff.
With the mixture, I'm really, really finding it. It's really interesting to hear you. The mixture of testosterone mixed with a mindset of inquisitiveness is a really good combination for success in terms of business, in terms of everything, in terms of kind of just living that life. And so you're someone that I've seen now has transitioned into becoming a more of a business mogul, getting around, connecting with, if not one of the most talked about groups in the world right now. You're part of a group that is spread out all over social media. Now, in terms of social circle, what I teach, did you network your way there? What was the sort of stage? Have you always been someone that's been able to connect with high status individuals or people of, like-minded, views and stuff? What's your sort of role and how you've done that?
You know what? It was actually one of my early business mentors. This is long before I was ever in the adult industry.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of my early mentors was a man who goes by the name of Simon Black. He is he runs this organization called Sovereign Man.
Okay.
And he taught me, this is in my early 20s, he taught me everything is about adding value to someone's life.
Perfect.
Like, you don't always be looking to add value in any way, shape, or form. Because then anytime someone's around you, it's a win-win scenario. So I always looked at social interactions like that. And there was a combination of that and then a book I read a long time ago by a guy called Ryan Holiday. And
good
the book is
Ryan.
called Trust Me, I'm Lying. I'm not the title has nothing to do with what it teaches. The book basically teaches in an interesting way how to level up through various networks. So he uses the example of like media and press coverage.
Yep.
In that book, he talks about pitching a story to a small niche blog. Okay, then they cover your story, and then you can use that as social proof to get a slightly bigger blog to write about you, and so on and so forth before you end up on like the news, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of took that approach, oddly enough, to getting into the porn industry. Like
Right.
the exact same approach I used. So I started off in Australia, pitched very small directors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I leveraged that as social proof that I could do the job to pitch a director who was slightly bigger. And then eventually I ended up working for Brazzers, and it's just stepping stones all the way up. Who can I add value to? Because I've got a kind of an interesting story, right?
Yeah,
I've got a unique background. And it was kind of a case of, when I went back in 2020, when I first, what kind of really launched my, if you want to call it like my online coaching persona was connecting with my friend Rollo Tomasi.
Yep.
And the way that happened was he was talking about OnlyFans at the time because it was like March 2020.
Yep.
Lockdowns hit. So many girls rushed into the OnlyFans game. Everyone was talking about it. It became this household word all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And I was a fan of his work. So I hit him up. I was like, hey man, like I see you talking about this. I'm from the adult industry. I know a lot about this. I'm also a fan of your work and I understand what you teach. Would be great. I'd love to come on the show and give my 2 cents. I understood the value exchange there. Yeah. I understood that. Like I can add some value to him. And I didn't ask for anything in exchange. I didn't have a YouTube channel. I didn't have anything. I didn't ask for a damn thing in exchange. And that's the point. And when you're networking with high net worth individuals, it's the same thing. And and you'll know this too, being a guy who teaches about them to be social.
Yeah.
A large part of being able to network with high net worth individuals is simply being a cool guy.
Yeah, pretty well.
No, being a guy who doesn't want anything from them.
Yep.
Being a guy who brings up the energy in the social interaction, makes them laugh. Being a guy they can relate to. You can share you can share a few, shall we say, risque stories, right?
Yep.
You can kind of communicate that you get it. You get the way the world works. And look, and I never talk business, not talking about making money or anything like that. Just making them like you on the surface at least. And that's kind of how I networked with the Tate brothers, Andrew and Tristan Tate. We get along really well that way. And now I'm kind of here I am in Dubai hanging out with them actually right now.
Great.
Around being degenerates here in the Middle East.
I mean, that's amazing. That's exactly what I teach. Basically, that's fundamental. You know, as you said, give value. It's one of the most underrated things in the world.
Yeah,
Underrated.
and I think it's because I think now, especially, like, this is how business used to be done for
Mm.
so long. You know, rewind the clock 100 years. This is how business was done. Like, shaking hands, speaking face to face. Younger men have forgotten or never learned how to give a good first impression with somebody. You know, how to network, how to socialize, and how to do it in a classy way too. I as much of a degenerate as I am, I like to think I do it with a degree of class.
Yeah, you have that social awareness, what the other person's going to think about you in that sort of scenario.
And I just think it's nice to be a gentleman. I think it's a good thing to bring back that old school masculinity, that old school respect and honor. These are important things, I think, and I think they need to be emphasized more today. So that's why I try to carry myself with a degree of class. At least when I'm wearing clothes.
I love it. It's funny because what I do to put myself in that. I'm a golfer. I have a golfing background. And you go and play with the old boys, and I'm talking they're 65, 70 and stuff, but they still have that respect. They still have the traditional values. And it's so refreshing. And it's crazy. That's why I tell a lot of guys, go around some old guys that are in that sort of year. They might not be your role models, but they have that, as you said, those traditional values and that masculinity from back in the day. Yeah. Hopefully,
it's about respect. It's about honor. It's about being a man of your word. Right. It's about not bullshitting anybody. There's all of that. No fakery. No fronting. No pretending. Like little subtle things like pretending like you know what somebody's talking about when you actually have no idea. Being humble enough to say, you know what, I ain't got a clue what you're talking about. Can you please explain it?
Makes them like you more.
Yes. That's the point.
And that's the crazy, those little fucking mindset tricks. Boom, opens up your world. You know, it's just don't be LA. That's it, guys. Don't be LA. Don't be the LA vibe. That's exactly what it is. Or the Gold Coast vibe. You know, more of my Gold Coast viewers, they're probably hating on me now, but yeah, you know, the fucking, you know, it's the same sort of, it's like, I want to use you because you have the social connections and this and that and this. I'll be friends with you. I haven't talked to you in 2 years, but what have you been doing? Okay, the next day, oh, what's up? You know, get me tickets here.
Yeah, dude. That's why I couldn't stand Los Angeles, if I'm being honest. I mean, I lived there for like 3 years. It was purely for work. If my industry wasn't there, I would never have lived there. It's a shithole. That's being generous.
It's funny world for anyone that hasn't been in it. You can't explain it. You got to go there. Just go there and see what it's like. You know what I mean?
No, I'd say don't go there. Take our word for it and just don't waste your time.
Miami or Texas, go one of there. They're all right. They're pretty good.
Yeah, Miami's good. Miami's fun.
Yeah.
Miami's a degenerate city too. It's a total degenerate.
It's my favorite city in the world. That's it. If anything, there and Bucharest. Bucharest was real fucking fun, man.
Bucharest, man.
Yeah, we both did it.
I was fun in Bucharest. I like Bucharest. I like Budapest.
Yep.
I like Prague. Prague's a fucking great city.
Yeah.
It's a real beautiful city. And Dubai's growing on me right now as well.
It's right. So you'd say that the travel to those places, you like them the best?
Yeah, I've traveled to I've done a fair bit of South America. The one place I haven't gone to in South America yet is Colombia. So I'm going to Medellin. I'm going to Medellin very shortly. Going to check that out. See if that lives up to its reputation.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Let me just put one more question, and then we're. So let's go into it. What can both sexes improve on in the bedroom? What can men do and what can women do?
Just for guys is pretty straightforward. It's learn to be more dominant.
Okay. Yeah.
Learn to lead, learn to understand the darker side of female nature and the darker side of female sexuality, and embrace that. Embrace unapologetic masculinity. Okay.
I like that.
That means leading, means being more physically dominant, understanding that she has this darker side to her female nature, letting her explore that and express that with you, right? Letting her trust you with that. I think that's very, very important, because I think that like the bedroom is like a microcosm of the relationship as a whole. Yeah. And a lot of what I see, at least with my my clients is that when you start to fix the dynamic in the bedroom, miraculously, inside the bedroom start going better because you dicked her down correctly.
You gave her that good dick, that good pipe. Yeah.
It sounds silly, but it's honest to God, it's the truth. Like if you pipe her down correctly, miraculously, she starts behaving quite nice.
Yeah.
And for women, look, so I don't really coach women.
Yeah,
per
of
se.
course.
I do get a lot of women, especially on TikTok, man. I get tons of women on my TikTok basically just agreeing with everything I say.
What's yours? Because mine's 70% women, like 29, 71, so 29% men, and all my content like you is men.
Yeah. It's kind of annoying. I'm like, look, I appreciate you being here, ladies, but I'm not talking to you. I'm just trying to talk to the dudes in the background over there. He's the guy I want to talk to.
This is what I think. I think they might show their boyfriend, so I'm not too, it's not too bad. They might give the share button a bit of a go.
If they show their boyfriend, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Well, then that's my advice for ladies. Show my material to your boyfriend.
To your boyfriend. Boom, done. That'll be that. I like that. That'll be good. That's great. But
if I could give something like something actually practical.
Yep.
Like it would be learn to be in your feminine. Learn to be in that submissive space, that submissive, like receptive space as a woman, because especially if she's a Western woman, Western society has tried to program her in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Western society has tried to program her to be something that she's not meant to be. They're programmed to be more masculine. And that's where you get a lot of conflict in relationships and between the sexes, especially in the Western world. You don't really get this conflict in South America because there's still that machismo. There's still that dynamic. You don't get that conflict in the Middle East where I am right now because there's still the traditional gender roles. People are happy. The men and women are happy with each other.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in this space on the internet, especially on YouTube, where you get a lot of guys who are kind of frustrated with the dating market in the Western world. And it's like there's a bit of doom and gloom. And I'm like, look, man, there's plenty of good women out there. There are plenty of good women. And if you have to be the kind of man who attracts that woman. Yep. That's the important part. Being the kind of man who can elicit her best. Because there is a good, like, even in places like America, small town America, it's kind of like the flyover states in America, like the Bible Belt, there's plenty of good women.
Yeah.
They're not all these, kind of ratchet hoes you see on all like that.
And this is what I teach. It's like, number one, okay, if instead of complaining about that, work on your value as a man and what you offer to the world and what you can provide and what you can do. Stop bitching and complaining. Do this, and then miraculously, all these flowers start to come out. All these these girls start to come in your way. It's like, wow.
Who would have thought? Actually doing the work led to results. What a shocker.
Who would have thought? Oh fuck, I wouldn't have done. Oh man, that's crazy. That's crazy. All right, Mr. Stirling Cooper. The last question is: if you could change one thing about the world, what would that one thing be? It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be small. If you could change one thing, what would that be?
God, oh mate. Okay, I would probably get rid of Instagram.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah.
Damn.
There has been no greater hindrance to healthy male-female relationships. And I say this as a man who totally takes advantage of his Instagram in this way. So guilty as charged. But what is it? My good friend Rollo Tomasi, he says this, that Instagram is to women what Pornhub is to men.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
So Pornhub gives a guy unlimited sexual access in a way, right? To his brain, at least. Like, it allows him to see unlimited amounts of beautiful women in their being sexual, right? And that's a man's kind of primary drive in life. If he's being honest, like deep down, is basically unlimited sexual access to women. That's what men want. That's what men conquer kingdoms for. Men
exactly.
Money for. Why they do what they do? Like it's for that power ultimately. Now, with women, their ultimate agency, their ultimate drive is really for attention. Because if we think about it, like rewind the clock back to caveman days. Okay, if a woman could not get attention from men,
yep,
then she was dead. Literally, she couldn't fend for herself. She couldn't protect herself. Especially if she's pregnant, a tiger's going to come along and eat her. Like all these things, right? So attention is the most important thing for a woman, right? And so now you have Instagram. What does Instagram do? Instagram gives every woman unlimited attention from simpy white knight soy boys all across the internet, all across the world.
Yeah,
she's no longer my good friend, that cute girl in a small Ukrainian village.
Yep,
might have married Bob the butcher down the road.
Yeah,
because that's all she had. Like that was her dating marketplace was the town, the small village she lived in. That was it. She didn't have access to anybody outside of that. But then Instagram came along, okay? And Svetlana, who lives in, this tiny town, she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So she posts her photos on Instagram. Well, Instagram is a worldwide thing. And now she has Al Sadiq over here in Dubai flying her out.
Yep.
To take her to the Five Palm Jumeirah, like the best nightclub out here or something, right?
Yeah.
Because he can interact with her now. And so now Bob, the butcher in her hometown, he ain't got a fucking chance.
Nah.
So Instagram's created this very interesting global dynamic. And what that means is that the hottest women tend to go for and end up with guys who have the most clout and influence and the biggest followings and the biggest reach. And that's which doesn't, I mean, that is what it is right now. And so I'm not going to sit there and complain about it because I'm playing the game myself.
Yeah.
If there was one thing I would change, it would probably be that.
Yeah, there's something that what happens when you see a girl and you see she's interacting with Drake and you're just like, wow, okay. Yeah, they all have access. Now you're versing Drake. You're literally versing Drake. Oh, Stirling Cooper, that's been amazing. Thank you very much for this. And where can the people find you if they want to learn more about you, want to learn everything that you do? Where can they find you?
The one-stop shop will be stirlingcooper.com. Stirling is spelled STIRLING. Go on to my YouTube channel. I give a ton of free advice on my YouTube channel. That is, you type in Stirling Cooper into YouTube, you'll find me. Obviously, there's my TikTok, Stirling Cooper X. My Twitter is at Stirling Cooper X, where I rant and rave. And you want to see me flexing on Instagram? My Instagram is at Cooper Stirling.
Perfect, my friend. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate your time. I know it's very valuable.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.